Parents, everything you know about the National Merit Scholarship PSAT is wrong. In this short video, I'll show you exactly everything you need to know about this PSAT and how your team can win scholarships. For those of you guys who don't know me yet, my name is Jared Wynn, and I've helped hundreds of students increase their SAT score so that they can go to their dream colleges or qualify for scholarships. In every single video that I post, I show you guys one actionable step that you can take to help your team increase their score. With that being said, let's get straight into it. Let me go ahead and make myself a little smaller on my screen so that you can see my board. Now, first things first is, what is the difference between the SAT and this National Merit Scholarship PSAT? I don't want you guys to overcomplicate this, okay? The only difference between the PSAT and the SAT is that the PSAT is for merit-based scholarships, okay? And has less to do with admissions than the SAT. The SAT has more to do with admissions. Now, that does not mean that the SAT, you can't get scholarships from the SAT, because you definitely can, but really the PSAT, the only difference between the SAT and that is that it's slightly easier and it is used for scholarships. That's really all you need to know. You don't need to overcomplicate it. Now, let me walk you guys through a step-by-step roadmap to how your team can win the National Merit Scholarship. So typically, teens, they take the National Merit Scholarship PSAT in the October of their 11th grade. And once they take that test in October, they're going to show you there's really only three scores that we care about. The first thing we care about is the raw SAT score. Now, the raw PSAT score, pardon me. The raw PSAT score is exactly how it sounds like. That just tells me how many problems did your team get correct on that PSAT. So you're going to have three sections for this. You have the writing section, you have the reading section, and you have the math section. And now these are typically at a 38 score for each thing. So let's say for the raw score, I got a 33 in writing, a 34 in reading, and a 32 in math. That means that for those respective categories, that's how many problems I got correct. Now, in order to get what we call the scaled score, we want to make sure we convert this raw score. Because remember, the PSAT from year to year, it differs in terms of difficulty. Some years are easier, some years are harder. So that means the raw score for some tests, they do not compare well to the others. So what they need to do is they need to scale the scores so that you can compare each test to each other on a baseline level. All right. So what that means is if you're scoring like this 33, if you as a raw score, but the test is slightly easier, that means that your scaled score might be lower than that 33. Or on the contrary, if your test was exceptionally hard, that means your raw score at 33, it scaled up might be a little bit better, maybe 1 to 2 points better. So let's say, for example, in this example, we took a pretty difficult PSAT. So that means that, hey, respectively, let's say we made 34 plus 35 plus 33 scaled score because we're taking such a difficult test. So that's going to be 34 plus 35 plus 33, and that's going to be 102. Okay? So 102, this gives you the scaled score. Now, this is where people get a little bit confused. Is this scaled score gives you what we call the selection index. The selection index is simply the scaled score, which is in this case 102, multiplied by 2, which means that your selection index would be 204. Now, people get very confused at what the selection index is. The selection index is simply the cutoff score, the cutoff index that your team needs to be in order to be a national merit semifinalist. Now, it all depends on your state. All right, so different states have different selection index cutoffs for the national merit semifinalists. So, for example, California has one of the highest selection indexes. Typically, it's around 218 to 220. So, if you scored this 204 in California, then most likely you're not going to be selected as a semifinalist. Now, for other states that, I'm just going to choose a random state, like maybe like Indiana. Let's say Indiana has a typical index score of 210. And let's say for this example, we didn't score 204. Let's say maybe we scored 212. Well, if we scored 212, historically, the index for the cutoff has been 210. So if I score 212, I have a pretty good chance of becoming a semifinalist, right? Historically. However, you won't actually know if you're a semifinalist until September next year in your 12th grade year. Now, the reason why it takes so long is you need to remember that hundreds of thousands to millions of students take this test every single year. So they got to make sure that they make sure that the data is accurate. All right. So again, you won't know that if you're a semifinalist until typically September of your next year. There's one more score we need to talk about, and that's what we call here the composite score. The composite score is very familiar to what the SAT looks like. For example, 1100, right? Or 1500. So, the typical SAT is out of 1600. The PSAT is out of 1520. All right. So all this score is telling us is, hey, how ready are you for the actual SAT? So if you got a 1500 on this PSAT, that means the SAT, you have a good chance of getting a good score or a score close to that. That's all that is. It's just supposed to show you, it's just a precursor to the SAT. It doesn't help you select anything for the index. All right. Now, to become a finalist, you must do 4 things, or 5 things actually. Number 1, you need to score a good SAT, right? That matches your good PSAT. You need to have a good GPA. You need to send in a good essay. And most importantly, you need a letter of recommendation from your school. But most importantly, it trumps all that, you got to send this all in on time. So only when you accomplish these 5 things are you selected to be a finalist. If all these are good, then that means that you can become a finalist. So there's typically around 16,000 semifinalists. 15,000 of those end up being finalists. And the 1,000 that don't, they probably lacked in one of these areas right here. All right. Very straightforward. Don't confuse yourself. Of those 15,000 finalists, we're not done here yet, guys. Only about half of them get selected for scholarships. And not all of these scholarships are from the National Merit Scholarship Corporation. Okay? There are 3 types of scholarships that you can get if you are a finalist. Again, just because you become a finalist, that doesn't mean you automatically get a scholarship. Only about half of you guys do. And it really just depends on how good your application is compared to other students in terms of also leadership roles, things along that nature. So there's 3 types of scholarships that you can get. One is the National Merit Scholarship, right? The whole point of this test, that's going to give you $2,500 if you do win that scholarship. But again, not everyone does. It depends on your application. The second thing is college supported scholarships. So only certain colleges do this, but certain colleges, if you do well in the PSAT, if they're enrolled in the the National Merit program, then they'll give you scholarships based on that. But for the last one is corporation based. So this is typically for people who are in a certain region, or if they're going for a specific career, or if they're in a certain geographical region. Corporations also give out scholarships based on your PSAT score as well. So even if you don't get this one as a finalist, you do have the potential to get these other 2 as well. But again, only half of you guys will get these scholarships. All right, so guys, there's so much misinformation there on the PSAT. I hope that this was valuable, and I hope that this was helpful for you guys. If you guys need a little bit more help applying this to your own unique situation, drop a line down below, comment on this video so that I can personally reach out to you and I can see how I can help you guys apply this to your team's unique situation. Again, hopefully this was helpful. I'll see you guys in the next one.